do that, I will for sure show you how to do that in this session. We're going to talk about how to do that. So make sure you know how to post into the channel when we get there. All right. Kim has started the recording for us. That's awesome. Thanks so much. And if you were with me this morning, we talked about the 3 goals of remote learning. We talked about that it was continuing learning, staying connected as a school community, and then streamlining the process so that students have an easier adjustment to leaving their face-to-face school and coming to a remote learning environment. But maintaining that school connection, that connection with our students is critical. You think about the fact that your connection with your students is just as important as the content. And in this time right now, with all the stress and the fear and the strain that's going on, your connection is even more important than the content. We'll catch them up on content. Not that we shouldn't continue to try to teach them, but having them know this sense of normalcy and the fact that you're there. When we talk about emergency situations or stressful, just I remember when 9/11 hit, and one of the things that came out of that was that students needed ritual or tradition to help them feel like the world was okay. And even though this isn't as something as scary as 9/11 with a terrorist attack, it is scary and it does feel very overwhelming. And so giving them that sense of tradition is very similar. Wanted to help them connect. So if you start your class with dad jokes, start your recorded lessons with dad jokes, or your synchronous calls, team calls with dad jokes. If you sing, have a teacher who, when she teaches poetry, she has songs that connect to the poems she teaches, and she would play a song and she would sing along. Keep it up. Keep those singing going. Keep those dad jokes going. Anything that you would do in class with your kids, find a way to bring it into your online and your remote learning environment so that your students know that, hey, my teacher's the same teacher. We're just not seeing each other in the same classroom right now, and everything is going to be okay, which is such a crucial point for them. In addition to the connections that you have with your students, it's great if your school can maintain their school-wide routines as much as possible as well. My class is traditionally meets 4th hour of every day, but in our remote learning environment, it meets first thing on Wednesdays. And so I added, because we do a pledge and the prayer at our school every day, I added to my greeting, once I'd greeted them like I'd always do when they walk in the room, which is a big hey, with their name and everything. I pulled up a PowerPoint that had the flag, and we said the pledge together, and then the prayer, PowerPoint with the prayer on it. And they giggle and they laugh and they're like, why are we doing this? This isn't what we do. But it's your first class of the day. And so we're going to do it because this is how school starts for us every day. And so I'm trying to help maintain those traditions. We are in the process right now of honoring seniors and doing the different things, those traditions that you have at the end of the school year, finding ways to bring those in and pull them apart, pull them into this environment is going to be super helpful, so that your students know that they are still part of that school-wide community. So what do you think about, I'd love to hear if your school has started sharing types of traditions and anything that the school is doing to try to pull in those traditions. Anybody have an anecdote to share?
And I just want to throw in there, it's totally fine if you want to come off mute to answer the question. Sometimes it takes a little longer than to type it in yourself.
Yeah, good point, Kim. Thank you. Fun. Yes, absolutely. Just we've had the elementary grade levels, they've had different guest people come in to greet them, the morning greeting, and it's been all kinds of fun things. The assistant head of school came down on a zip line in the recording and stuff, all kinds of things. Third grade team has recess each day at 1 p.m. and all teachers are invited to join the kids. That's so great. I love it. Fun Friday, teacher read alouds. Those are awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. So let's talk. Let's just get a gauge of how long you have been in this remote learning environment. For me, today is our 5th week that we've been doing an online learning environment or remote learning environment. So I'm curious as to how long it's been for you guys. I know some people are just starting, some have been doing it longer than 5 weeks. So just love to hear where you are. Music teacher, posting videos, student. Oh, so sing-alongs, that's great. Music teachers creating sing-alongs, so fun. 4 weeks. Starting 7th week. Week 4, we had spring break, so it would have been week 5, yeah. 8 weeks. Starting next week, okay, 6 weeks. Today starts the beginning of 6 weeks. 6 weeks. All right, so we've got a lot of 6 weeks. 8 to 6 or 8 to just starting, or next week could start. So we've got a variety, and those of us who have already started, you have seen that online delivery is different. I imagine that you have felt the difference. We have to, as facilitators, our students are relying on us to bridge that physical distance. So we need to find ways to make it feel like school, even though we are not physically in the room with them. And a lot of that comes into play with the virtual cues that we can get, because the social dynamics are the same, but the implications are very different. Those physical cues that we get in a classroom aren't there, right? And we have to figure out how to get the virtual cues to them. So we don't have the physical cues of seeing a student who's looking at you like, what are you talking about? I don't understand at all. You know, even if you've got a big grid of everybody's face, they're small, it's hard to see, or they may not show you the same because they can see that everybody's looking at them. So they kind of play the game as if they understand. In class, when they know that not everybody's seeing their face, they demonstrate much more visibly. In a group setting, when you ask them to work together, there's a physical cue of students slowing down and reaching the end, so that you know when it's time to move on and call everybody back. You don't have those types of cues in this virtual setting, so you have to find ways to do that. Additionally, content can feel very static and distant in this online delivery system, so we have to find ways to make it interactive and engaging. Pulling students in, figuring out those elements of what we can do to see what their facial expression is, or bring them back, or figure out how they're close to being done with a group activity, and then elements of interaction and keeping everybody attentive. All of these things are a challenge. Let's see, we've got a comment. We are inviting Rise staff members to Zoom meetings to engage students. That's great. So you've got a number of staff members in the meeting at the same time to help. So love it that they're finding out the Teams. It's a great tool. We have another school calendar starting in March, only 1 week classroom. Okay, all right. So, okay. So part of the idea with this online delivery is the fact that we have to figure out whether we're going to have synchronous learning, where everybody's meeting, everyone is meeting at the exact same time, we're all in the call together, or if we're doing it asynchronously, where actually we have students that are doing their work at different times. There's lots of elements that come into play with this. Whether students all have a device, whether they have one device and 4 family members who are trying to share that one device, the bandwidth issues. There's just a variety of things that come into play when you're trying to meet everyone at one time, and when the realities of whether everyone can meet at the same time. So we have to find, this morning, most everybody said that there was just a combo, that we were kind of going back and forth. We had some synchronous meetings, virtual office hours, different things where students could join, but then also we had lots of asynchronous events going on where students could work independently, and that bridges the gap and helps level the playing field and the equity issues of the fact that not everybody can get on at one time. Sometimes they can't meet at the same time. So when you have both going on, you have to figure out the best ways to work on connecting with your students. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. That's what our large majority of our time is going to be on today, or all of our time is going to be on today, is looking at how do we connect and engage and build that sense of community in a synchronous environment as well as an asynchronous environment. And so let's just talk about the key components, essentially some of the key ways that we can do that. And I'm going to have the PowerPoint, and I'm going to pull out of the PowerPoint some and demo and show you how to do some different things, and then I'll just kind of flip back and forth. But first, I just want to show you the different, or talk about the different concepts that we'll be looking at today. So just like we are right now, we are in a Teams call meeting synchronously to discuss content and to share experiences. And so that is one way, of course, that we can connect with our students in a Teams call. Additionally, another synchronous thing that can happen is that you can have virtual office hours. If you plan to have your instruction be recorded asynchronous lessons, and I'm going to spell that wrong because I'm doing it quickly, so I'm just going to abbreviate, then you may want to have some synchronous virtual office hours where students can join, check in, ask questions, share insights, so that if they are struggling and they didn't understand something from the recorded lesson, they have an opportunity to talk to you in a small group or one-on-one if your district allows, so that you can work with them and give them the reinforcement that they need. Another great resource for asynchronous is Flipgrid. And what it allows you to do is you can create a topic and you can record or just share resources in that topic. And then you have your students review the topic and then they can share back videos. So it's a great way to do asynchronous connections because students are still getting to see each other. They're still they can comment and give feedback to each other or leave a message for their classmate. So you still see each other, feel that connection, but you're not having to all get on a call at the exact same time. And then conversations in the post tab are a wonderful way to keep conversations going throughout the days, throughout the weeks, so that your students are able to connect with each other and with you, ask questions, share fun stories, inspire each other, all kinds of different ways that they can do that. Not all of them have to be completely focused on content. They can just be a part of the connection for your students as well. And just because you know what that happened, they walk in the door in the class and they start talking to each other. They share what funny thing happened in the last class or something while they're waiting for you to get the bell to ring and all that stuff to start class. And so we want them to be able to have some of that sense of camaraderie, peer connection that they had before. All right, so let's see, I've got Zachary says, this was one of the most impactful sections of the MEC learning module because of the paradigm shift that most occur with time and content delivery transformations. It's a great point, the idea that, you know, it's really about how are we going to keep everyone going. All right, so I am going to switch to the next slide, and basically, when we talk about conversations in teams, there's two different things to look at. I'm going to demo both of them for you. How to make announcements, and then also how to use channels for discussions and what channels are. So before I get started, I'm going to ask you to, I'm going on the fly here, Kim. I'm going to ask you to put in, from a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with Teams? 1 is, I'm using it right now, Kelly, but this is about it. A 5 is, we're using it all the time. It's what we're doing for our remote learning, just to give me a feel of where we are. 3.5, 3.5. A 1, okay. 2, 2s, okay, great. Okay, so I've got some 1s and 2s, so I'm definitely going to start with the basics so that I make sure that everybody has what they need and sees the resources that are available. And hopefully some of my 5s in the room will also have some great. So this is not cooperating for me really well. Oh, because I'm pushing the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. So I am going to demo inside, actually, a demo team, which is here. This is just a demo team that I have where I taught English 10 for 7 years, and English is where my heart is, so most of my examples come from an English 10 perspective. You'll see a sample of an announcement here where I was able to make it visual, very different than just a little quick question up here, and, you know, with assignments and that kind of thing. Just because I've got some 1s on the call, I'm going to talk a little bit about real quick that I can't mark on this right now. Where my cursor is on the far left of the screen, that is the me space. That's where I can get to all of the things that relate to me, and I can see my activities, my chat, my teams, my assignments. This white space to the left, to the right of the me space is the we space. This is where we work as a group, as a team. In this team, the post channel is where I would be able to communicate with my students. Files is where I would share files with my students. There's a great class materials folder that's read-only for students, and then any file that I share outside of that class materials folder is something that my students can work on together. Class notebook is a place where I can create a class notebook, which I doubt it's been populated. Oh, no, I did when I demoed earlier. So class notebook's been created and students would be in here. And then assignments is where I create my assignments, and then grades. If I don't have another grade book and I wanted to put my grades in here, students could see my information for them there. So post is where we can talk to each other. If you are seeing, just so you know, if you're seeing a black bar at the bottom of your screen, if you'll just move your cursor somewhere else and then stop for a minute, that black bar will go away, and then you'll be able to see my whole screen, because I can't move that start a new conversation box at the bottom of the screen up anymore. It won't scroll. So the only way for you to see it is to get that black bar to be removed. This, Ruth, this is the same window, but I'm gonna show you more things than I showed this morning. So I'm about to get into more details, Ruth, than what I showed this morning. But yes, this is the same team that I was showing this morning. All right. So at the bottom of the screen, start a new conversation. I want to make an announcement just like this up here where it says, remember your assignment is due. Right below the start a new conversation, I'm going to choose the format, the little A with a pen option. And you'll see my box gets a lot bigger. And I have the choice of starting a new conversation where I can do bullets and numbers and font and highlights and all those kind of things. But I can also hit the down arrow and choose announcement. And I could say guest speaker. And then I've got the choice of doing a color scheme, a different color, or I can go over to the image and I could pick an image that I have if I have an image that I want to use, or I can choose an illustration and I could pick one that I feel fits the topic and then say be ready for our guest speaker. Share your questions here so we can prepare for the guest speaker who will join our class. I press the little airplane icon, paper airplane icon at the bottom, and now that feature, that announcement is there for all to see. If I had put at, and actually what I will go back and show you that you can edit. If you hit the three dots, if you hover over the right hand corner of the announcement or any post that you have and select the three dots or the ellipsis, then you can choose edit. And when you choose edit, if I go in here and put at English 10, everyone in this class will get notified that I posted this announcement. So it will be quick and easy way. They'll receive an email that has some information. And so even if they're not in Teams all the time, they can get a quick notification that it's there with that at mention. Up here, I can moderate this conversation or announcement by choosing you and moderators can reply or everyone can reply. So obviously I would want kids to reply to this because I just asked them to share their questions. But if it was just an announcement that I didn't need them to reply on, I could check that box. Additionally, if I have more than one class, if I'm a secondary teacher and I have 5 classes of the same subject, I can choose post in multiple channels and I would be able to take the same post and share it with all of my classes at the same time, rather than having to retype this information 5 times. So that is how the announcement works. When I'm done, I go to the bottom of the screen and of the box and choose check. And now my edits have been recorded and it shows that it has been edited. So that's how you make an announcement. Now, channels are a great place for you to have very focused, specific conversations about a topic. So channels can be units that you have. For me, in my design thinking class, the channels were for projects. So when we worked with Ronald McDonald House, we had a Ronald McDonald House channel. When we worked with the Mobile SPCA, we had a channel for that, etc. But if you have units, so when I taught English, you see here I have Shakespeare. I could add, I'll show you how you do that. At the ellipsis or the 3 dots beside the title of the team, you select it and you choose add channel. And I could type poetry. I want this to be a channel for everyone. I want it to automatically show to everyone, so I'm going to check the box there and I'm going to choose add. Now you'll see that it adds to the right under the general channel and it alphabetizes the list of channels. If I wanted them to be in a specific order, then what I need to do is when I add a channel, I need to put a number. Now you're going to want to put 01 and then the title of the channel, and then press add. I think it is great when we're talking about building a sense of community through channels is to have, and conversations, is to have a questions channel. This way, your general channel is not cluttered with, hey, Ms. Etheridge, can you tell me when the next assignment's due? Or I don't understand what you mean by find 5 quotes that are important and demonstrate the meaning of the chapter. You know, those questions, instead of being in the general channel where you've got really important information and announcements, could go in this questions channel so that you could answer them, that other students could see them, and they become very visible place for everyone to see the questions related to the content that you're teaching. Additionally, you may want to have one called Get Social. So with this channel, I am allowing my students to have a place where they can greet each other and talk to each other and say hello and connect. And maybe you want to guide that conversation and say, hey, everybody go in and put the favorite thing that happened this week, or everybody go in and tell me a dad joke. So something that keeps the kids having fun, being a part, and having conversations with each other, but it's supported by you, but it doesn't have anything to do with the content. You could have it do something with the content. You could have it connected to anything, but it's just a place for them to talk to each other. One thing that many are concerned about is the moderation of making sure that students are behaving appropriately in the space. When you have made a channel, you, I should point out, I said 0, 1, and 0, 2 because if I say 1 and then 2 and then say 10, the 1 comes before the 10 comes before the 2. So that's why you put the 0, 1 and the 0, 2 there. When you want to moderate it, if you move your cursor over the channel and select the 3 dots, you'll see that there's a Manage Channel option. And here the permissions say that this channel is not moderated, but I can turn moderation on. And so now that channel is moderated. It allows members to reply to channel messages. It allows bots to submit channel messages and connectors, but to start a conversation, I'm the moderator of that. So I'm going to make sure that those conversations are appropriate. I'm going to pause for a minute. Okay, so that's a question for Jen Morgan. So I'm going to let that stand there for a minute. And I'm going to show you how you manage the conversation. We talked about how to manage it in a specific channel, but if there's a student who is not making good choices, you can manage that student's conversations through the Manage Team. So right beside English 10, I selected the 3 dots and I choose Manage Team. And you'll see I only have 1 student in this because it's just a demo account. But I can, if Stan is not acting appropriately, I can check the box and mute him until I can get to him and say, okay, we need to make better choices. Let's talk about this, what's going on, and have a good conversation with them, teach them some digital citizenship, remind him of the rules, and then he can agree to make better choices, and then I can unmute him. If you have a Get Social channel or anything else, and you want to make sure that over the weekend, students aren't just in there talking away when you're trying to disconnect, and you don't want to have to moderate the conversation over the whole weekend, you could just check the box and mute all your students for the time. And then when you're ready, when Monday comes or Sunday afternoon comes, you can uncheck the box and everybody can talk again. So you have the ability to control that and allow for that give and take of back and forth. So I'm going to pause and see. Yeah.
There's a couple of questions here. And I think I know the answer, but I don't want to misspeak. First, how do you turn off notifications, chat notifications? Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So first with the chat notifications, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you're in a call like this and you're wanting to turn off chat notifications, I will actually, let's see, go to this call real quick and show you. So if you're in a call like this and you're wanting to turn off chat notifications for a call like this, when you hover over the call message, you hit that same 3 dots and say turn off notifications. If you also just want the notifications to stop while you're in a call or doing something, you can hover over the top right hand corner of your screen where you see your name and click on it and choose do not disturb. You have to remember to turn it back off later, but it's a quick and easy way for you to do that. Yeah. If you are wanting to, but just in case there's somebody out there who's wanting to turn off notifications for other larger things, when you select your name, there is a settings feature, and in that settings feature, there's a notifications feature, and every notification that happens in Teams comes up in here, and you can personalize how you want those notifications to come to you, whether you want them to be an email or a banner or both and all that stuff. So you get to make those choices. Okay. The other question I saw was, is there a way to mute a student on just one specific channel? So there isn't a way to mute a student on just one specific channel. If I go back, you'll see that I can moderate a channel with the manage channels, but I can't, the only place I can control the mute is in the general tab where I'm managing the entire conversation. So, but one thing that you can do if you're wanting to mute a student, if you have some things that students don't need to be a part of. So if there's some conversations that only some students need to be involved in and others don't, you can create a private channel. So let me show you how you do that. So when I click on the ellipsis again, I can choose add channel, and I'm just going to put group 1. All right, so say you differentiate your instruction. You've got some students who need to go at a faster pace or need to go at a little bit of a slower pace. You could create some groups that have private channels where you are able to control that. And so you wouldn't have to mute a student there because they just wouldn't be part of that group if you wanted to do it that way. So I'm just going to name this one group 1. And down here, I still want it, instead of standard accessible to everyone on the team, I'm going to hit select the down arrow and choose private, only accessible to a specific group of people within the team. I'm going to choose next, and then it's going to ask me who can be in that group. So I'm going to put this one student, because I don't have a lot more in there, but think about it. If I have 5 students in group 1, I'd put all 5 of their names. If you are automatically, because you created the team to the channel, you are automatically in the channel as well. But if there was another teacher, a co-teacher that you wanted to help manage this channel and support the channel, then you could put them there as well. And you choose add, and now it's done, and you'll see that to the left-hand side now, it says group 1 and there is a lock. I can see this because I'm in the channel. I'm a member of the channel. But the 15 students or 25 students who are not in this group would not see that. They would only see questions 1, questions 2, so get social, poetry, and Shakespeare. They just wouldn't see group 1. They just wouldn't show up for them. Or it would have a lock on it, but I'm pretty sure it just doesn't show up for that. So that is how you would, that's one way that you could mute a student, is by not putting them in make some private channels for some groups. So I had a parent who wanted their child to not have access to the social channel, but need to have it. Oh, yeah. Well, that's a hard one. I mean, the only thing to do is to make it private, and then they wouldn't see it and everybody else would.
Yeah, Kelly, I was just actually finishing that or typing that in, but it's pretty easy if I just mention it.
Yeah.
This is probably an opportunity or a situation where the parent doesn't quite understand what the difference is between a social channel and any other channel, that they're all the same. It's just the title's different. And that, you know, everything that's posted is monitored by you. Everything that's posted is saved. So this, when you say social, it's not something that they can go off and do on their own. Am I echoing? I'm sorry. Am I echoing?
Not to me.
Okay, good. Just to me. Okay. So yeah, and this is where we're going to have that come up, where we're trying to explain to parents, you know, how being online, even though it's a different space, being social is still important. And so instead of just blocking, it really is that opportunity to help kids understand how to be appropriate, even if it's the fun channel or the social channel. So this is a great learning opportunity just in general for kids on understanding how to be good digital citizens. But parents can't see what their kids are seeing, so they don't really know all the back, the behind the scenes and what's capable. So instead of creating a channel that you have to put every kid's name in except for this one child, first have a conversation with the parent and see if maybe you can get some clarification and ease their concern, because that's the other, the parents are also living in a very new world as well, and so they may be misunderstanding what it is that we're asking our kids to do.
Great point. Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. For sure. Yeah, I would definitely start with the conversation, and then, if they just won't, then unfortunately, but yeah, helping them understand that you're moderating it and that kind of thing is for sure a helpful thing. I know that we've had a little bit of issues with some private chats, so I will go ahead and show this. There's, and I don't know if I have any chats in here, but yeah, you can hit the ellipsis and mute chats, so that if a student is receiving private chats from somebody that's distracting, we had a couple students who they're trying to get their schoolwork done, and it was just being a bit distracting for them because their friends were always trying to chat with them. The mom had to just go in and mute for, while during school time. But so there's definitely some social aspects and some digital citizenship skills to learn there for sure. All right, how are we doing? Give me a more of his ADHD. She would leave him alone for a minute, and when she came back, he was on social channels. So yes, so that was kind of what I was talking about. Yeah, for sure. I think that that's one of those things of, golly, those definitely those skills of self-regulation come into play, and it's hard for sure to get them to stay on task. But yeah. Are there instructions that we can learn about Teams? There are some resources, and we'll make a note and definitely put them in the this channel. There's a lot of great things that Microsoft has done to create resources for parents so that they can get familiar with it as well, for sure. All right. So, okay, so checking in with you. Go ahead and put an emoji in, showing me how you're doing. Are you good? Do you need help? Anything confusing? Just a happy face, a confused face, a thumbs up, and also take a minute to stretch. Just if you've been sitting, don't sit too long before you move a little bit. Great. High five. Awesome. Love it. Okay. All right. So what we're going to talk about now is scheduling Teams calls. So just like the one we're on, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can schedule those calls through a calendar so that you can have live lessons or virtual office hours. And then we're also going to talk about the Meet Now feature where you can hold a small group, tutoring, troubleshooting, that kind of thing. I've had plenty of calls in the last 5 weeks where students like, I can't get where I need to go because in my role, I teach, but I also support teaching and learning at the school. So I'm the go-to person when not how to fix the laptop, but how to use it in the classroom. And so students will be like, my notebook won't sync. I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And so I get on calls with the kids a lot. So those are super helpful, that Meet Now. And Jennifer has popped in a quick start guide for students, which could definitely be shared with parents, helps them. Thank you for that, Jennifer. That is great that you get to manage schedule through your widget of Brightspace. That's awesome. So I'm going to show you how to do it within the Teams environment. And I'm going to also do it in my demo. Okay, so here I am. I'm in my We space, right, for my team. Over to the left is my Me space. If I'm going to schedule a call for my students so that it's a regular standing, my students meet every Wednesday at 9 a.m. And so I can go to the calendar and I can choose Wednesday at 9 a.m. and I can enter weekly call. I can put their names in, or I can leave it optional, or just not put anybody's name in. It'll go on because I can tie it to a channel. If it's a call for a specific class, then it would be faster just to tie it to a channel because then I don't have to enter all their names. If I'm doing this for a virtual office hours and I have 5 classes, I would want to do it where I have that all of my students can access the call at the same time, because I'm not going to have 5 different virtual office hours, maybe, but probably not. So here I'm going to demonstrate it as if it was a virtual office hours so that you'll see that you would put a student's name in. You need to put, well, I'll say this, you wouldn't want to add every student because that would take too long, but you do need to put someone's name in because otherwise it will not populate the join link for the call, which doesn't show up until you press send. If you don't put anyone's name in, that join link is hard to get to unless you add a channel. So I'm going to do both so you can see how it works. I'm going to hit English 10 and add a channel. I can also choose repeat, so I could do this weekly and setting it up so that it's every Wednesday. And then I'll say join here for our weekly call. When I press send, that call is now going to show up on my calendar. And it takes it a minute for it to process. Sometimes if I go away and come back, yep, it shows up. When I select it again, you'll see that there's a link, a join link now. If this was just a virtual office hours call, what I can do is I can copy this URL, I can email it to my students, or I could go to my team, do an announcement, office hours. Call if you need help. And then, of course, I could post it in multiple channels so that each one of my classes had the same link. When I'm ready to join the call, there's a couple different ways. I can click on this link and press join. It shows up on the bar in the channel, so I could press join there. I could press the link there as well. But one thing important to note, and Kim is going to pop in a URL to a document that shows you how to do all of this, the setup. One thing that we've found, and some of you may have also found this also, if you don't schedule a call with your students and you do the meet now, when you press meet now, everyone in the call is deemed a presenter. So they have the same rights that you do when they join the call. And when they do that, they have the ability to mute other students. They also have the ability to mute you, and they have the ability to mute or to send somebody out of the call. And so that's disruptive. And so we want to make sure that if we schedule a call like this, we want to go in on the forefront and manage it so that students aren't presenters. To do that, you select the meeting options feature, and this box pops up and it gives you who can present, and you would hit the down arrow and say only me. Now, if there's a time when you want a student to share their work with you, I'll show you how. You can go in and make them a presenter for the time being in the call. But if you're going to schedule synchronous calls, I highly recommend that you go ahead and just make everybody an attendee. So what they enter, they have attendee rights. And if you then need to upgrade them, you can, but you don't have a lot of the challenges of kids muting you or others when you're trying to teach. So I will show you what it looks like inside the call to actually one more. When you're in the call and you want to change a presenter or attendee, when you press the icon for the people, you'll see that everyone is over here and everyone's deemed a presenter. If I hover over a student's name and hit the ellipsis, I have the choice of removing, which I don't want to do, or making an attendee, which gives them less rights. If I need to mute everybody, I can do that. But you want to just kind of make sure that they don't interfere with your call. So that's the other way, if you do a meet now, that you can go in and do that feature. But the document that Kim shares has those steps on it, so you don't have to memorize this. You also don't have to go back and watch this exact scenario to see that. It gives you those details step by step, so that'll be easy for you to do. To meet now, I didn't actually show you how to do the meet now. In the call, when you're in your team, it depends on which version you have of Teams. This is a little bit more, I think it's a early release version, and the Meet Now button is up here. I'm not going to press it because if I do, it'll cut me off this call. But if I press that, then I would immediately start a call. If you have the version that I have at my school, you will see that Meet Now button down below the Start a New Conversation. It will be the same little video icon that you click on, and you select it, and then you'll see your camera, and it'll give you an opportunity to name the call. So you can put a name in, and then you choose Meet Now and you start the call. Another great thing, if you don't want to have the call in your team because it's just a small group and it's just meant for that small group, you can create a new chat and you can add those students to the, trying to think of other, you can add the students here. Hey, let's meet here. And then you'll see that once I've sent that message to them, I have the ability in the right-hand corner to do a video call or an audio call, which I can always change to a video call. But that's another way that you can do the meet now. So I'm going to pause and see if you have any questions about that. Yeah, the bypass the lobby setting and meeting options is new. Yeah, and this tenant gets upcoming features the rest don't have yet. And it works for people that aren't in your organization. It's one of those things that it'll, I think they're tweaking it so that it'll be where your students can't join until you allow them to, but I think that's being rolled out. It's not ready just yet. If I have groups in my quick contacts, how do I meet with them quickly? Quick contacts. So Carrie, if you're talking about quick contacts, like you've got like a small group, email groups, I have found that my email groups do not show up in my Teams on Teams. So unless I'm in Outlook and creating a call, scheduling a call in Outlook, I can't use my A-block calendar contact or email contact list to set up a quick call in Teams. So what I did was I went into, I either go to Outlook and create them there, or what I did, because it was just faster because my groups were small enough, that I would just came up and did just like I did here with the Krista and Stan, is I went to chat and I selected the new chat icon, and then I entered the name of the students that I wanted, or the username of the students that would be in that small group, and I just sent a message saying, hey, this is where we're going to have our small group meetings. Just be prepared for that. And so then we would be ready there. When you schedule and share join code, how do you disable that link? Okay, scheduling a call. So I think you're asking, Melissa, when you create a team and then share a join code, or no, you're talking about the meeting. When you schedule and share a join code, how do you disable that link? The best way to disable that link is to cancel the meeting. So I would just cancel the meeting, and then that link wouldn't work anymore. Scheduling call, if I add a channel and not the names of the attendees, will they receive the email with the calendar invite? They will. I don't know.
If you're talking about creating it, scheduling the meeting in the calendar, no, I think you do still need to add who you want to be part of that meeting. It won't go to everybody in the channel.
Yeah, I think it will. The conversation will be in that channel, but I don't think that they'll know about it unless you actually tell them.
Right. I'm actually, and I've been invited to other meetings before to present, and so I still get their chats, but I do have to. I'm not part of that meeting anymore. It's not on my calendar. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kim. How do students receive an announcement? What if their notifications are off? So they receive an announcement a couple of ways. If they have, if you have put, like I did in this one, at English 10 or at general, even if I had put at general, they will receive an email about that announcement or conversation, unless they have gone in and personalized their notifications to not get any emails. Hopefully they haven't done that. Even if they've turned off all notifications, when they open Teams up, they will see over in the activity part of their Me space, they will see however many notifications they have. So 10, 20, 5, whatever it is, with all of the different notifications. So you'll see the thank you, just different notifications that come. So you'll see a specific, like this is a great example, Kim mentioned me and now it popped up as a 1 and I now see that. And so I get a special, and not only is it there in my activity, but then there's a visual over to the right-hand side when I'm in that mention, in that team, that shows me that you've been mentioned in this specific spot. You're welcome. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it. Okay. Okay, so I think, I think it's in the calls where I could create groups. Sorry to keep bringing it back to me. It's the speed dial section. Okay. Oh, so you're going to, Kara, you're going to this calls area and add speed dial. You know what? I have to be honest, I haven't used this before. I'll have to play around with that. If you'll put a message outside of this meeting chat, just put in the channel about the specific question about speed dial, I'll happy to look at it later and explore. But at the moment I can't, I don't, because I haven't done it. I don't know the answer. Is Microsoft Teams friendly for use for second graders? Absolutely. Our second graders, Kim's talking about, I have pre-K, my school is pre-K through 12, and our pre-K, everyone's using it, pre-K through 12. So, and the pre-Kers have figured it out, the second graders have figured it out. We're all rocking and rolling. It is user-friendly for sure.
Kelly, can you talk a little bit about what maybe some differentiation that might need to be put into place for kindergartners and first and second graders? For example, learning or using certain tools, maybe put that off till much later, or have you had any experience of, as far as what needs to be done to really help onboard kids that are that young? Is there any kind of a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to switch to the next slide real quick, just because it plays in a little bit for synchronous lessons. And I'll tell you what our school's doing with regard to teams and the little ones. Every lesson that we do, and I'll actually forward, every lesson that we do with our little ones is a recorded lesson. So some of our teachers are using Teams calls, just like we're using a Teams call now. You don't have to be in a call with other people. You can just start a call and hit record and record yourself talking. And so then it immediately plugs into your team. They've been doing it also with their phone. There's a Teams app on your phone, and they've been recording lessons on their phone because they use it that way as well, or just simple phone camera and then uploading it to their computer, or PowerPoint recorder or screen recorder, and then Flipgrid screen recorder, which is a great, just a plug-in for, I think it's on Wednesday. A great session from 2 to 3:30 about screen recorder that you want to check out for mini lessons. So what we did was we started really simple. We started with, okay, we're going to upload a video recording for our little ones that they can watch, and there's some directions on what to do, and it tied to some deliverables. So the students had picked up from our teachers a deliverable, and the teacher would be showing, okay, now look, look, boys and girls, on this page, we're looking at this page and it has these directions at the top of it, and she would talk through it and they would work on it. And then as time has gone on and they've become more comfortable, the students have figured out how to chat and have conversations with their teacher and with each other on there. And in the last couple weeks, they have been doing forms quizzes with them to assess their their work, like when they are working on things, and they can they've been loving the feature where they just upload a file, so they have their sheet that they're working on, and they take a picture of it and they upload it to that forms quiz, so it's there for the teacher to look at, or they just take a picture and upload it to assignments. So we started super simple, just recordings and conversations, and now they're building to giving some assignments and some quizzes through it. And then a couple of them have started using Flipgrid with their kids. We started, my thing was simplify, start with one tool, and then as comfort grows and everybody feels that they're okay, you can move on. But one of the things to think about, whether it's synchronously or asynchronously, is that we've got to think about our students' age, right? So brain research, Brain Rules book, I can never think of his name, but it's a great book. And he talks about that attention span is basically the age of the student. So we've got a 6-year-old, we have 6 minutes, but that's of instruction when we're in front of them. 15-year-old, you've got 15 minutes, but an 18-year-old you don't have, or a 40-year-old you don't have 40 minutes. You have about 15 minutes, about as long as you're going to get before you need to pause or interruptions or take breaks. So we want to break up those concepts of our synchronous instruction with questions, with stopping to reflect, to have students respond. Even having just a simple emoji pop in a chat window and being able to have them, like I did with you guys, tell me how you're feeling, that kind of thing. All of these things are super great. A Kahoot quiz, a forms quiz to check understanding, where you've talked a little bit and then you have them go do something and then you come back and do more. Now that's for older kids. For younger kids, if you're going to have a synchronous lesson with them, again, it's super short and you're having them do something with a manipulative, you're having them take a task and complete it and show it to you, and then you're waving bye and good job. These other things, the forms polls and that kind of thing, would be for older kids. And if we want to make sure that we have the time, I think we're okay. But I was going to pop and do a sample of a forms quiz right now. But I don't want to, I want to make sure that we get through things. So I'm going to visit that in a minute. Definitely want to recognize the need for brain breaks. So as I mentioned already, no longer than 15 minutes of focused attention during direct instruction if you're doing a synchronous class. And you definitely want to take that and include pauses for reflections, questions, or insights. The other thing that you can do is to have small groups work on a problem together and use those channels for those small discussion groups. I love the fact that you can go in and we could say in our classes, again, this is for the older ones, I would say, 4th grade up. I still would keep to the simplest version with the little ones, but we've done something, and I've given you some concepts, and say it's a math problem, and I've showed you a number of examples of that math problem, or it's a science reflection question. We've talked about the different things of a food web and the food chain, and I say to the group, okay, what I want you to do now is I'm going to give each group a different animal, and I want you to work together for the next 10 minutes, and I want you to come up with your own food web for that animal. And what you could do is you could create a channel for each group. You could make them private or not if you wanted, but you could make a channel for each group, and then they can leave your call and go to that channel call, and they could go to the channel and start a call. And then just like you would in a class environment where you are hopping from table to table. You can hop from call to call and join the call, see how they're doing, see the progress they're making, give them feedback, and then move to the next call and the next call and then at 10 minutes, you can send a message at general, okay, it's time to go back.
Max Gentle.
Or you can get on each phone and say, okay, wrap it up. You've got 2 more minutes before, or 1 more minute before we all need to join back. And so you can have these smaller discussions with the class. But those are things that happen as you get more comfortable with the learning system, with Teams itself, and kids have been able to get in there and do some things individually, then you can have them working in groups. I'm going to pause. So at the moment, there's not a way to to schedule an announcement. There's ways to schedule assignments, but announcements, there's no way to schedule them to come out later than, when you want. When you say, is this like Loom and Zoom? I'm not sure what you mean by is this like. So feel free to come off mute, or maybe Kim just answered your question with that tutorial about Teams. All right, any questions about how the small group would work in a Teams call, or anything that I've talked about with regard to Teams and synchronous calls? Okay, we already talked about this with regard to just asynchronous learning experiences. You can record your lessons. This is a great way when we're talking about younger students or older who aren't going to be able to join a call. You definitely want to have a way in order to make sure that everyone can get the instruction. And so if you choose to do all recorded lessons and then virtual office hours live, then these are great resources in order to record those lessons. You can also, of course, record your synchronous calls. If your district is requiring that you have synchronous calls, then you could have those synchronous calls and record those calls so that the student who can't join at that time is able to watch them later. When you create those recorded lessons, you want to make sure that, again, you're thinking about the fact that students are going to need those to be segmented. So best practices, especially when we're talking younger students, 4 minutes is about it. With an older student, you might be able to get up to 6 minutes, but that 4 to 6 minute time frame is definitely where you want to keep those recorded lessons. You have essentially 2 choices. You can chunk them out in 4 to 6 minute segments. They can watch them separately and take a break at the end of each one before they move on to the next one when they are ready. And in those breaks, you would want them to do something with the content that you discussed in that chunked out material, 4 to 6 minutes, and then you would let them pick when they were ready to watch the next video. The other option is to have a longer video, but when you use a longer video, you would want to upload it to Stream, which is an enterprise. I'll talk about it in a minute, but it's a place where you can store all of your videos internally with your Office 365 tenant. So it's like an internal YouTube channel. But then the great thing is that you can use forms to insert questions into the video so that those pauses, we're still going back to that 4 to 6 minutes, so that when you want them to stop and think and pause and take a moment before they move on, that you put those in there. So you're forcing the break, but it allows for you to to make one uninterrupted video. So Kim is going to share out how to insert forms. There's a great online resource that shows you exactly how to, once you've uploaded the video to stream, how you can insert those forms questions so that you can break up that. All right. Yeah, so it probably is, Ruth, that there's very much similar. If you can record in Loom, then it's similar to recording in Teams. Just any way that you can record is super great. All right, thanks for that. Okay, so Stream. For those who aren't familiar with Stream, I've mentioned it a few times with regard to recording these calls. When you record a call in Teams, it automatically, when it's done, uploads to Stream, and then that Stream video shows up on the team channel right where you recorded it. It also is a great place if you're making the videos ahead of time, pre-recording them, you can upload them to Stream. And then what I love to do, especially because I teach older students and I have more than one class, what I love to do is make a Stream channel where all of my videos live, and then I can add that Stream channel as a tab to all of my class teams. So I'm not having to share out each video individually. I can share all the videos and have them access them in one place. So it's super helpful to do that. And once you've done it, it's there. It's like a YouTube channel. Again, best analogy is to say it's just like your YouTube channel. You press on that channel and you see all the videos that you have, and students would be able to do the same thing. And there's two helpful videos on how to make a channel and upload a video to that channel, as well as how to add that channel as a tab in your team, your class team. And so Kim's going to share those out with you guys so that you have those and they are ready to go for when you want to do that. All right. So the last thing that was on the list of things that we're going to talk about is Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is a great resource to empower every voice at every grade level. Again, great tool for pre-K through 12. There's a phone app for Flipgrid, and essentially what you do is you go in and you create the grid and the topic. So essentially the grid is like your filing cabinet for all of your topics that you would want to give your kids, and your topics are like your assignments. And you create the assignment with the topic, and you can either record yourself or have it show a video or just put something up for the students to read with a prompt. And then the students can record themselves. They can use a whiteboard to explain something. They can use a screen recorder and record something on their computer. They can, if they're shy and don't want their face to be seen, they've got great pixelated or emojis that they can put over their face. It's just a great tool to allow all students to be able to share their voice in the way that fits them best. They don't have to be seen on the screen. They could use the whiteboard and talk through it or talk about a picture, but they can if they want. So it is another great tool for asynchronous connection because you're allowing them to talk and share and see each other and see you, but there isn't the pressure of being on call at a certain time. And it's super user friendly, and the fact that there's what the kids do is they open up the app and they just enter a code, and once they have that code in, they're right into your grid, and they can see each topic and they can see what you want them to do. And so it's super great for them. Got another great resource that the Flipgrid team created that Kim's going to share, that's just a one-pager on how to get started with Flipgrid. And then, of course, you want to check out Wednesday's awesome sessions, Inspire sessions about Flipgrid that will be on Wednesday. There's lots to do there. So as I promised, we've got the time. So I'm going to really quickly, I'm going to show you what I was talking about with the Flipgrid, with the at forms. So I am you're seeing the channel that we're in right now. And you're all in the call and you're probably seeing my screen. If you want to get to where I am and kind of come out of our call for a minute, what you would do is over to the left-hand side of your screen, you would see your me space, but it kind of is grayed out a little bit. But if you click on it, you can get there. And so if you press on Teams, it'll take you right here. And then what will happen is in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see my screen showing up, but you'll be able to see what I'm about to do. So I type at, and I start typing forms. You'll see that what pops up is a suggestion of a channel, which we don't want to go to, but this forms bot. So I'm going to press the forms bot, and it's going to say, what do you want to do? And I'm going to say, create a new poll. And then it's going to populate with what do you want your question to be? And I'm just going to ask, what is your favorite color? But you could see how you could do this with, a question that you were a concept that you were teaching. You could do it with, what do you want our Fun Friday to be? How would you, how would you like to celebrate the end of the year? All kinds of different things. You could have different polls. It could be content related, or it could just be connection related, social connection related. And I can choose multiple answers if I want, but I don't want to. So I'm going to hit next. And now what's going to happen, it shows me what it's going to look like, and I'm going to press send. And now what you're going to see is that it's going to populate in our group chat in just a minute in the channel. You see two options. But first you see the actual survey where you could choose. You select one and you choose submit vote. And then right below that, you'll see a real time of the votes. And so above is where you vote, and then below is the responses that we see. And so that's how that works. If this was a class team where it was just your students, you could go to forms on Office 365 and you could actually see who voted for what. So it would give you the names and a breakdown of who voted for the Fun Friday to be spirit themed and the Fun Friday to be Harry Potter themed or whatever. All those things would populate there. So with that, I'll see if we have any other questions. The pre-made prompts, pointing out that there's some pre-made prompts in Flipgrid that are super awesome. Lots of great ones. Wonderopolis has them, and then there's all kinds of different ones. That's a great point to make about Flipgrid. Thank you. All right, I see some of y'all are getting the hang of that. We are super close to end of our times. I'm going to go back to the slide, which I was just there, and just kind of close out with, you're going to make sure that you know that you're going to get a form at the end of the week to fill out. Be sure to use the meeting chat to communicate with us, and then be sure to share on social media what you enjoyed about the session. For sure, you can tweet out to I2E, and then my username is here as well. It's all E's. It's pronounced Etheridge, but it's Ether Edge is how you spell it. So love to connect with you on Twitter. And if you have any questions, feel free to either come off chat or come off mute or post in the chat any questions you have.
Real quick, Kelly,
Yeah.
anyone else mention? I just posted a resource page that we just completed for Microsoft on special education and accessibility during remote as we're going through remote learning. And there was a couple of questions about, students struggling with executive function or neurodiversity, like, ADHD, or maybe, struggling in different ways. If you go to that website, the question about, what about my student who gets really distracted and, the parent wants me to turn off chats for them. There's just some good tips for that under support for students. So the two best ones, I think, for this particular session would be the page on, or the section on executive function. And that's just, how do we teach kids to do some of this stuff on their own. It's not, I don't think it's just for kids who have special needs.
Yeah, right.
School, every middle schooler I've ever had.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be neurodiversity. And so check out those two pages, maybe even send them to your parents. And, that just helps provide a little bit more support. The technology is not going to solve all the problems that we can't resolve all the problems that we're dealing with by not even having a blended experience. So,
right.
So even though I know our initial reaction as teachers is we want to solve the problem, that might not happen, but at least we can provide some possible solutions, or so that we can help kind of ease the anxiety as much as possible, both for parents and for us. So that's just a really good resource to access as well. And I'm going to also post the redeem code for both this morning and then in this session as well. So if you are on Microsoft, on the Microsoft Educator Center, if you have a profile there, you can go ahead and pop these redeem codes in to get credit for attending these sessions. Awesome. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. All right, I saw a couple questions. I'm really new to Teams. I feel like I want to ask for homework. Is there a checklist that accompanies all these lessons so I can try it out? Oh, I love that. So what I would recommend you do, this is what I did with my my teachers when we started this, is I created just a demo team, and very much like the English 10 team I had. And I asked a couple colleagues if they would let me, I created a demo team where all of them were students at first, and I made them have the experience of what it was like to be a student. And I gave them a couple little assignments and that kind of thing. Then I said, go make your own team and ask a colleague to be your class, your student, and try things out, or I'll be your student. Put something in there and see how it works. I would recommend, and if we didn't share it this time, I will post it in the thing, which I don't think we did. There's I2E just released, it was about 5 weeks ago, or maybe 4 weeks ago, a remote learning course on the MEC that has, the first piece is all about what it is and why we need to think about, all the considerations and that kind of thing. The second course is all about the nuts and bolts of how to make an assignment, how to create a Teams call, a lot of the things that I talked about today about channels and that kind of thing, or this afternoon. And then the third one is all about accessibility. So I would recommend going and doing those courses and then creating your own team, where a demo team where you can have a colleague be your student and try things out there. That would be, I think, the best way to do what you're looking for. But I completely get what you're saying. I'm that way too. I need to try things. I need to test them. And that's basically what I did when we started this, when 6.5 weeks ago, when more like 8 weeks ago, when my boss said, I need you to come up with a continuation of school plan. I just kind of demoed everything because I was trying to build best practices. So I demoed everything and tried it a bunch of different ways to figure out what the best way, most efficient way would be for everybody so that we all did it the same way. And so that would be my best advice there. I got confused on multiple Flipgrids, assigning the same grid to multiple classes. Okay. So you can, what I would recommend if you're getting confused is create a grid for each class. So A block, English 10, B block, English 10. And then you can use the same topics for each one of them, but then that way you've got, if you're wanting to segment off those, if I think I'm understanding you correctly, you're wanting to segment off which students have, where the responses are, and you're wanting to keep it by the block, instead of having one big grid with all of your students responding to that one big grid. That's the way I would do it. Hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know, and I will happily give that to you or try to clarify. When we end the session today, could you please stay on so I can make sure I'm doing this correctly? I'm not a techie. Sure. Okay, that's a great idea. Okay, so if you go to education.microsoft.com and I can do that real quick. Let me get out of PowerPoint. When you go to education.microsoft.com and sign in, up in the top right hand corner, when you sign in, you'll have your little icon. Probably not a picture if you've never gone before, but it'll have your initials or something. And then you can choose Redeem Achievement Code. And when you get there, you can select it, and then you can copy and paste that redeem code into here, and it gives you points for the time that you spent on the call. And this is where you would find those tools too. So while I'm here, I'll go ahead and point out that if I click on Exploring Learning Paths and type in Remote Learning, it shows up with this Fostering a Dynamic Remote Learning Environment with student-centered tools, and it's a 3-course path, and you can get to it. All right.
Ms. Where did you find that? I've been looking for that everywhere.
Okay.
It doesn't a learning path, does it?
Yeah. So to get to it, I click on Learning Paths, and then it's remembering that I just type in, if I've never seen it before, I type in remote learning.
That's not showing up unless we type in remote learning. That was what's frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. So got that. Awesome. Where do you get the code? It is up further in the conversation. So Kim had just added it. Awesome. Okay. So I think I've answered everybody's question. I know somebody asked to stay, somebody asked to stay on the call so I can make sure that we're doing this correctly. Happy to do that. I think, Kim, if you haven't already, we can end the recording. I will upload, when we're done here, I will upload the PDF version of the slides so that you have that to refer to. And happy to stay on a little bit longer to answer any questions or to show what we need. Okay. Show the learning path again, for sure, absolutely. Okay, so I went to education.microsoft.com and I selected Explore Learning Paths. And it's remembering that I have logged in and not taken the course that I wrote yet. So, but I've accessed it to get the URL. So it's showing up for me there. It probably will not show up for you there. So what you will do is you'll need to, in the search box, type remote. And once you type remote, it will pop up with it. And when you click on it, you can scroll down and you see that there are 3 courses that you can take. And so you can hit start learning path up at the top, or you can just choose the one, if you feel like, okay, we're in the middle of this remote learning and the considerations have all been considered. I just need to know the tool. Then I'm going to skip one for now, and I'm going to go to keep students engaged and figure out the nuts and bolts that Kelly was talking about that I can find in there. Or if I'm special ed and I need some more help with executive functioning and that kind of thing, then I'm going to go to the accessibility one. So I don't have to do them in any particular order. All right. Perfect. Okay, so those who are asking for me to stay on because they want to make sure they're getting it right, if you want to come off mute and share what your question is, I'm happy to answer it.
I have a question on the meeting chat. How do I get those, keep these, since they have a lot of good links in them?
Oh, the meeting chat will, I'm going to go back to share my screen real quick. And the meeting chat will show up for you always. So I'm going to, when you're in this team and you're in the channel, you see here where it says, right now it says join because we're in the middle of the call. But once that's stopped, you see how it says 186 replies? If I expand that, all the resources that have been shared will be visible.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. An assignment was posted to Teams this morning that is due tomorrow. When the link is clicked, it opens a blank PowerPoint slide. How do we complete the assignment, please? Zachary, I'm thinking that's not in this team, but in another team. So I'll go to this demo team. Where do I have it? So if I create an assignment in here, and I'll just do it. So what you should be able to do, and I'll just do it real quick, create assignment, demo, complete assignment. Your teacher, whoever submitted it, gave you the assignment, probably hit add resource and chose new PowerPoint. Okay, I'm gonna hit attach. Now I'm just gonna hit assign. Oh wait, I need to go back, sorry. And edit. It says students can edit. If you're gonna edit this, you need to choose edit copy. So I'm gonna update. Now, when I go to student view, which is what I'm believing you have, Zachary, is the student view.
So I'm really sorry. I just wanted to clarify. It was from the actual morning session, and there was an assignment that said test from the Microsoft PD personnel, and I opened it to try to complete it, and then I couldn't access it. It was just a blank slide. So I don't know what's required. Do you want us to post something from the morning session?
So I didn't have I didn't give an assignment for this morning. I'm not sure. This is not a class team, so you should not have received an assignment from this. It may be that you are in a different